Welcome along back to Riyadh in race 5 here on day 2. It's the Drivers' Championship. We're in finalist mode as well with Josh Rogers. It could be done after this race. My name is Ewan O'Leary, alongside our Julian Kankipati again, and Josh Rogers has the chance to win $100,000.
And I think a lot of people questioning why Josh Rogers would have gone for that move in the closing stage of that race at Monza. Ultimately, what he was trying to do is put more separation between him and the chasing pack, trying to make sure that Jeffrey Rietveld has a harder job in this next race to achieve finalist mode.
We've spoken before, though, about the problem that Josh Rogers may well encounter and the fact he'll be ganged up on by everybody else. Let's see who those other drivers are and how far away they are from finalist mode at the moment. Jeffrey Rietveld only needs to finish 7th in this next race to get into finalist mode for the time we go to Nürburgring for race 6. Max Bonnecke needs a top 2 here as well to reach those 80 points.
We are expecting the Porsche to be strong here at Monza, and that's why we should acknowledge the fact that Rogers has got a great chance of coming out on top here. But like you said, when you're going to get effectively ganged up on by the rest of the drivers, not wanting to allow you the chance to secure the championship before anyone else is in finalist mode, it's going to be intriguing. You can also see, though, Rogers breaking away, yes, but Rietveld and Bonnecke not really being closed in by much. Yes, Chinchik has grabbed the victory in that most recent race, but ultimately, not many drivers in a chance of getting into finalist mode.
Only Chinchik, Toman and Baldwin can do it within the next 2 races. Further behind that, it's a lot more difficult. So we could see a similar situation to what we did in Munich with around 5 maybe getting finalist mode, but even that seems a little unlikely at this stage. Do we reckon that Josh Rogers is going to clean it out before anybody else gets the chance, though? Because we know that Porsche is strong at Monza. We know he is on form this weekend, not finishing below 2nd in the 6 races he's done so far. He's going to be difficult to beat.
I think I'm not expecting him to win at Monza. I am expecting it to come down to our race at the Nürburgring. We're going to slightly change the order of tracks that we're going to go through. Of course, Spa, Nürburgring, Hockenheim and Monza, where we've gone to so far. Monza, Nürburgring, Hockenheim and Spa, so a slight change there. We did see that Rogers was quite patient behind Bonnecke at the Nürburgring round. I think it's going to be interesting to see what, as you see the tracks there up on your screen, what the cars look like in terms of pace in those 6th, 7th and 8th races, because that might be a major talking point.
These are random draws, by the way, but we've had a bizarre bit of symmetry in ESL 01 in 2023. I've got to say, it was directly symmetrical on day 2 in Munich. Here we've nearly got the same, ending up at Spa with race 8. By the way, after that, it's going to be completely random. Between what the next 4 races are, what order they go in, so we'll have to see if we get there, but that would of course be the longest time that finalist mode has ever gone on for.
We thought we'd only see 1, 2 or 3 drivers make it to finalist mode before our champion is crowned. One of those drivers has added their names to the list. We think that we will likely see Rietveld, of course, in the 2nd finalist spot, Bonnecke potentially in the 3rd. I think we're going to be done in a couple of rounds here.
We could well be. One thing to note as well, though, is Marcel Chinchik and the way he won that previous race at Monza. We know how strong he is around there. It's what clinched in the title in the Spring Major. He's just won another race there. He got pole position there as well. He may be the thorn in Josh Rogers' side because we know how good he is around that circuit. While he can't get into finalist mode in the next race, he could at least get it to go on for a little bit longer.
The thing to point out as well is we've had 3 consecutive races where pole position has converted to a victory. Yes, Warren pole at Spa, Rogers victorious, but pole position seemingly relatively content to hold and restrain the tempo of the race. We've seen the drivers get a little bit more physical. Race director has had to intervene a couple more times, and you'd have to assume with a championship on the line, $100,000 on the line, the elbows are going to be out.
They certainly are. We had a fairly slow start to the day in terms of getting things underway, but this generally happens in ESL R1. It just builds up to a crescendo right in the very end of the day, and we're very much looking forward to what could be the finale here. Certainly the next few races is going to be very, very dramatic indeed. As I mentioned, Josh Rogers needs to win to take $100,000. And Jeffrey Rietveld, the man on your screen, needs 7th place to join him in finalist mode for the next race. He's going to be first, making his way out onto the circuit here at Monza to hopefully qualify his car the best he possibly can. And to be honest, he's been surprising us with the strength of that BMW.
We do know the BMW is not the quickest in a straight line, and that's why for Rietveld, he was so patient and not really going for the move too early. Waited until the 3rd to last lap to try his first real attempt, and ultimately ended up dropping back, yes, but We know that he needs, what, a 7th place finish here to make it into finalist mode. Once you're in finalist mode, it doesn't matter where you finish after that. It's just finish number 1 and grab the championship. For Rietveld, 7th, surely he can achieve that.
By the way, when you do get into finalist mode, the points do still accumulate as you're going along, so that's how we'll order the standings eventually at the end. If there are, of course, multiple people in finalist mode, you are still ordered in that way. As Jeffrey Rietveld completes the first sector, 34.8 from him as he makes his way through the 2 les modes right now as well. This is les mode 2. Need a really good exit out of here, close to the gravel as possible. Oh, and he's in the gravel once again. But he did that on his first lap as well in the last race, and his lap time was still okay.
The first sector, about a 10th or so off the kind of average times that we expect to get you into the very low 146s. Ideally, I think we might end up with this race in particular seeing a 45.9, given the stakes on the line. We saw half a second split the 12 cars in qualifying in race number 1. Surely they'll all deliver this one time of asking. Second sector again about a 10th off, tracking to a 146.2 right now.
A 0.9 would be absolutely fantastic to see, and a really good lap time as well. We saw great quality as well in the times that came in that previous race from the likes of Jeffrey Rietveld, from Marcel Chinchik, and from Josh Rogers as well. Rietveld makes his way out the final corner now and towards the line, as closest to the pit wall as you can possibly get. It's a 46.1 from him, not quite as strong as he managed last time.
What did I say? 46.2, 46.192. About 8 thousandths off. Not a bad prediction. Let's see if I can do that again with Marcel Chinchik. 34.7 in the first sector, and then a 35.5 in the second. Oh, he's right around the 146 zeros. It's all going to depend on this third sector. Needs to get below a 35.7, you would think, and out of the final corner, nice and tidy. Powers his way to the line, taking the shortest distance in that number 15.
Is he going to be able to take a second pole in a row? It's going to be a 46.0. That is going to be difficult to beat, just over 1/10 in front of Jeffrey Rietveld.
And you can see as well that final sector 35.79, so that's where we did lose a little bit of ground. So here comes Kevin Siggy, first sector about a 10th off, second sector about half a 10th off, but tracking towards Chinchik, and it might be Siggy out-qualifying Rietveld for the first time today.
Well, it would be a bit of a surprise here for Kevin Siggy. It's about time that he strung a lap together, or strung a whole lap together here in qualifying. It's up to second place as well, just 1/1000th of a second between the 2 Team Redline drivers.
Well, if you wanted to know how consistent the Redline teammates were and why we think they are potentially favourites for the team championship, there you go. Max Benecca's going to be up next, and he is definitely tracking into the 145.9s right now. Watch out for the 71. Benecca, after grabbing a pole at the Nürburgring, will want to do so at the Temple of Speed as well.
Did all right in the first race, of course. Another 13 points to his name with a 4th place finish. Needs to finish in the top 2 here to get into finalist mode after this race. Does Max Benecca? It's over the line. It's a 46.0 from Max Benecca. He goes right close to Marcel Chinchik.
It was that third sector again where they're just losing a little bit of time compared to some of the sectors that we saw in the spring major, and so 5 thousandths of a second. That is quicker than a blink of an eye. For Yuri Toman, that second sector definitely saw a slowdown penalty there. This is going to see Toman down the back of the field.
Let's see, it was a staggering amount of slowdowns, by the way, in the previous race, and we could be on our way to seeing that again here. 48.4 from Yuri Toman there, once again having a difficult end to day 2 here, unfortunately, as Dane Warren makes his way towards the line. What role is he going to have to play with Josh Rogers in finalist mode?
Now, you've got to assume that for the teammates to be able to run in close proximity, and at least for Rogers to have someone that he knows is not going to throw too many really desperate sends, Warren's going to have to qualify well. Of course, pole in the first race, but has struggled a little bit more since then. Over
the line for Dane Warren. It's a 46.0 for Dane Warren again. 32 thousandths away. Now that is encouraging for Rogers, because he knows that he will have a teammate up to help him should he need it.
Now he's got to match Warren's performance in terms of driving, and that's going to be, I think, easier said than done given the lap time that Warren was able to put together. Kevin Ellis Jr. coming off a few rough races, hoping to rebound. Let's see if he can find some speed in the Apex Racing team, number 98.
Out of the final corner for Kevin Ellis Jr., who qualified his way in through the shootout here last night. Goes over the line with a 46.2. I'm afraid it's not quite been Kevin Ellis Jr.'s day. As I mentioned earlier, I'm just pleased to be here, really.
Plenty of drivers, I think, have not really enjoyed a fun day. Could say that for James Baldwin in particular. Has had a couple of top 5 finishes, but not necessarily the performances that we would have expected. And again, tracking towards a low 146, but I don't necessarily think it's going to challenge Chinchik. It's more into the red line teammates that he'll be looking, but he's almost, what, 610s off, 600s, excuse me, off of that.
Yeah, I thought James Baldwin would thrive today with finalist mode in the way that he performed in Munich, but that's really not been the case, unfortunately. Josh Rogers certainly has thrived, though. Didn't win a race on day 2, actually, back in Munich, but he did get into finalist mode eventually, and yeah, didn't end up winning the title.
It's a very slow sector 2 though for Josh Rogers. We saw Dane Warren punch in a very impressive lap time in the Porsche Commander Esports car, and for Rogers it's not going to be so impressive. He's down below Baldwin and outside of the top 6.
Well, there's not a lot he can do from back there. Dane Warren would have to put on teammate of the century performance, where I know Hanya Yoski put on a good one for Marcel Chinchik in Munich, but Rogers is going to need a bit of a miracle, I'm afraid, to take the title here in this one. A big moment in this qualifying session as Jakub Brzezinski looks to lift his spirits a little bit with a performance here. Not been the day for Williams. It was not been a real week for Williams Esports, unfortunately for them. 46-2 is around where they've been all day long, but still only 8th place.
Once again, 9 cars split by, what, a quarter of a second. Yes, Yuri Toman with a slowdown. Not really a representative time from him, but the quality of the field that we see, once again, we keep calling them 12 of the best sim racers, 48 of the fastest sim racers that entered yesterday, and we're being shown why. For Tommy Osgaard, not an ideal Sector 1, slightly better Sector 2. We'll be hoping he can find his way up into the top 6.
He will. Looking to lift his spirits as well is Tommy Osgaard. Over the line, it's a 46-2 from him as well. That's only 7th place, only 1 thousandth away from James Baldwin. And Guri Kastrup will hope to do a little bit better than that as well. Unfortunately, had an accident at Ascari during the last race, which dropped him all the way to finish in 11th.
He's not had a fun day by any means, has been outside of the top 10 consistently, but this does seem like it's a slightly more consistent qualifying performance. First and second sectors, relatively on the mark for a low 146, and, well, the Mao's number 4 going to try and join Benek up towards the front.
46-2 as well from Yuri Kastorp. It's 9th place, right around where he's been all day long. In the top 11, covered by less than a quarter of a second. These ESL R1 qualifying sessions just do not get any more spread apart the more that we do them. It's been like this from the very start in Katowice, and now towards Riyadh as well. It's still as close as ever. Quarter of a second separating the top 11, but at the front of them, Marcel Chinchik for the 2nd race in a row.
I mean, we stay at Monza, so it's what we expect, and ultimately with Rogers back in the pack now, we're going to be a little bit more concerned about who's going to join him in finalist mode as we make our way next to the Nürburgring, but first 15 minutes here at Monza.
Let's have a look at your starting grid for another 9 laps at this historic racetrack. Yuri Toman, the only driver with a slowdown on this occasion, ahead of, or just behind of Kevin Ellis Jr. Jakub Brzezinski sneaks into the top 10 alongside Yuri Kastorp, with Josh Rogers down in 8th. That is the big story from this one. Tommy Osgaard 7th, ahead, just behind of James Baldwin and Jeffrey Rietveld, who needs 7th here to get finalist mode, by the way. Kevin Siggy with a good qualifying to 4th there, with Dane Warren 3rd. Max Benecke is where he needs to be with a top 2 to get into finalist mode here. But it's Marcel Chinchik who sets the ALJ fastest qualifying lap here for race 5 at Monza. He has been sweating today, by the way. We've seen some in these slow-mo shots. He's working hard, but the rewards are great at the moment. Another race win may be on the cards, with the last 3 race wins being taken by the pole sitters.
We're not necessarily expecting the win to be able to bring Marcel Chinchik up in towards finalist mode, but he will need another strong result after that. Ultimately, not going to have to see too much ganging up on Josh Rogers, given the relative lack in performance in qualifying.
Yeah, it's a bit of a surprise, isn't it? Because we've not seen him drop outside the top 2 all day long just yet in terms of race finishes. So it's unlikely to see that. Certainly at the start we wouldn't have predicted it, but he's found himself all the way down there. I mean, is there a situation where we can see him winning this race? I think it's unlikely.
I don't think he's going to get the opportunity to have the chance to work his way on forward. Everyone's going to make his life as difficult as possible. And what do we say? Well, fighting's great, it looks impressive, but it costs you a whole bunch of time.
It certainly does, and that's the problem when you start even below the first row. Second row sometimes can even be a problem for you. It's race 5 though here at Monza in the ESL R1, sponsored by Aramco here at Gamers8. Great to be along with you once again. This man has the chance to clinch $100,000 in the next 9 laps. We've just spoken though, it's not going to be easy for him. Max Benecke needs a top 2 Jeffrey Rieveld needs to finish in the top 7, and then they will be in finalist mode as well, heading into a very dramatic Nürburgring race. It would turn out to be.
And we saw how Max Benecke dominated at the Nürburgring. Going to be very difficult to see anyone else surely challenge him. Rogers was within a second at the line, but never really had a sniff of a pass, and so one race here that we expect Marcel Chinchik to dominate. Maybe Benecke dominates the next race. A couple more drivers entering finalist mode, but crucially, opportunities for Rogers slipping away for him to crown himself the champion before anyone else can have that same opportunity.
Absolutely. We said earlier on that he may have the problem that everyone else will gang up on him a little bit, but as you mentioned, that may not be a problem next time around. Don't forget as well, at the Nürburgring for the first time, it was Max Benecke and Josh Rogers who finished 1 and 2, and they were pretty comfortably faster than the rest as well. Is it going to be another historic battle between those two legends of the sim racing world? Some of the best drivers of all time here in ESL R1, the final 12 whittled down to just one finalist mode driver at the moment. Don't forget that Josh Rogers doesn't lose finalist mode if he doesn't win here. He keeps that forever now, but just needs to win another race if he wants to take those $100,000 home with him. The lights are going on then. It's the second race at Monza, race 5 of the afternoon, with Marcel Chinchik on the front and Max Benecke alongside. It's a good start from the Hungarian, the ESL Spring Major champion. Gets off to a flyer. Dave Warren alongside Max Benecke for second place at the moment. Coming down in towards turn 1, James Baldwin ducking and diving a little bit as Benecke fires it down the inside. He tries to hold on to second place and does so with Chinchik in the lead.
But you can see this little bit of a squirrel there from Benecke in the Miles Audi at the front, allowed Dane Warren to take advantage, and now losing a bunch of momentum as they swoop through Curva Grande for the very first time. Look at the red line BMWs trying to go aggressive on their former teammate, but Benecke runs the middle of the road and blocks them from making a pass.
Dane Warren in the perfect place to maybe help Josh Rogers pull off a miracle here. He's side by side with Tommy Usgaard out of the second chicane right now, heading towards Lesmo 2. He has the inside line, going for 7th place at the moment. I'm not sure whether he's going to be able to manage it because Usgaard had his nose in front, and he goes a little bit wide as well. On board with his teammate Dave Warren, who's trying to do his best to put off Marcel Chinchik.
And ultimately for Chinchik, again, a victory not likely to be enough for him to be able to gather finalist mode immediately. He's going to have to hope that from behind, the drivers that have been able to work closer and closer to finalist mode have some struggles, like Benecke, who we said needed a second place finish to get to finalist mode heading into the Nürburgring, where we think he might be the favorite.
And what do you think Dave Warren's going to do here? Is he in his own head thinking, I want to win this race because I'm trying to get finalist mode myself, or is he going to create as much battling as possible to help Josh Rogers, who is down in an unlikely 8th place right now?
Yuri Kastrup up the inside of Kuba Brzezinski into the Curva Alboreto behind as well. Yuri Toman clears himself on Kevin Ellis Jr. 3 Audis running towards the back of the field while another Audi runs towards the front. This is where we're seeing that the balance of the performance of the car is relatively equal, all things considered. The drivers with the fixed setup as we go from track to track have got to adjust to what it's providing them.
Max Benecke getting pretty close to Dane Warren on the run down in towards turn 1 as well, but that's not going to be a move that's going to happen. The top 3, in fact, are staying away from the rest a little bit, and kind of smartly, Team Redline have put Jeffrey Rieveld in front of Kevin Siggy. Don't know whether it was intentional or not, but it's a good idea.
All he needed was a 7th place, but with the buffer behind, 4th, we'll see him ride hopefully until the end of the 9th lap and achieve finalist mode to challenge with Josh Rogers on board with Benecke once again. He was a driver that I think a lot of the fellow competitors had highlighted as being hungry for success. The very first winner in ESL R1 history. Bit of an up and down season after that. We mentioned the dual responsibility that he was feeling. But now for Benecke, finally some confidence, some comfort it would seem, and he's really pushing the limit of that Audi.
Certainly is, and has had a great day so far. Good start anyway. Not so much in the last few races, but a really good start for Max Benecke. Was right up there with Josh Rogers, then had those problems at Hockenheim. Well, he just didn't get away off the start line at all. Went absolutely nowhere. That's put him in a little bit of a rut, but he's getting out of that right now with a couple of races at Monza. 4th place in the last one. Now he's up to 3rd and looking for that 2nd place, which is currently held by Dane Warren, as Josh Rogers moves ahead of James Baldwin, as everybody does.
Can take a look on the left side of the screen as well. The green bar next to Josh Rogers indicates finalist mode for him. You'll be able to track the drivers drivers that can claim the championship with a win by using that green bar. We'll see how many of the bars get added to the timing tower by the time our champion is crowned. End of lap number 2. Still Chinching and Warren at the front, with Beneka closing slowly but surely. He's where we're going to have to keep an eye on. When does he want to go for the move? We don't think Kevin Siggy's going to go to the move, but with so much draft, he's going to have to take that overspeed into turn number 1.
I don't think it's going to matter too much in the end because Tommy Uscott's quite a long way away. Kevin Siggy's ruined it a bit though. He's got very deep in towards turn 1 there. And Jeffrey Rivel's going to come straight back at him. This is a disaster now for Redline because they're fighting with each other. And
they've really allowed the likes of Tommy Oscar, Josh Rogers, and, well, maybe not Brzezinski just yet, but if they continue to squabble, there may be that opportunity. Rietveld's going to get up in front of Siggy as they once again file through the Curva Grande, but up towards that second chicane. Beneka not close enough to go for a move on Dane Warren.
No, and Rietveld back through again on Kevin Siggy there with Tommy Usgard and Josh Rogers very close in behind right now. Through Lesmo 1 go the leaders. They've got a couple of seconds over the rest, and that will help them just a little bit. But how motivated are they going to be to make the moves here? Max Beneka needs second place, of course, to get into finalist mode. Third would not be enough. So expect him to be the one making moves.
I wonder what his team manager, Rene Latin, is giving him in his ear. What is he coaching him through? Is he saying that wait till the final stages, see what Chinchik and Warren do? Is he just telling him that you don't need to go for it in this race? You might get another opportunity in the next race to stop anyone else from taking the victory. So many different things to think about, but if you're Josh Rogers riding back in 7th, only one thing on your mind. That's P number 1.
Well, I would say the thing on his mind at the moment will be that qualifying lap and the mistake he made in the middle sector. We didn't see it, of course, but we're going to presume that he made one because he has the pace to be on pole here and challenging for the win as he was in race 4. In race 5, though, he's got a lot of work to do, and in this race he's showing that he could be winning this one as well. It just shows how important qualifying is, because no matter what he does here, I don't think Rogers is even going to be able to manage a podium.
Not especially with the gap between Rietveld and Beneka that continues to grow to the inside. Rogers will look on the fellow Porsche former teammate in Tommy Osgard, but the heroic car that's been strong over the course of the last couple of months will try and fight this one back, but look at the confidence. Rogers on the outside gets the power down nice and early and should be able to secure a 6th spot before they get into the braking zone of the Roger.
The inside line through Curva Grande there for Rogers, but Siggy just pulled to the outside there just to give Osgard a bit of a slipstream and a bit of a chance of going or keeping alongside him, because he wants Rogers to obviously be in those battles, wants to protect Jeffrey Rietveld as much as he possibly can, but that did not materialise in the end for Team Redline and Kevin Siggy as we zoom in on the two Redline drivers. Update from the pit lane, by the way, technical issue for James Baldwin, I'm afraid, in this race. Put him down to 12th place, and it's been a difficult day for him.
Yeah, definitely not. I think his the Drivers' Championship that he would have been dreaming on the journey over here, ultimately, it was a dramatic spring major, and I have no doubt heading into the future seasons of ESL R1 that Baldwin and the Mercedes-AMG Petronas camp will be ones to watch. But of course, Baldwin can't be too disconsolate. Tomorrow, the fight for $600,000 starts in the team championship.
Yeah, state team rising even a little bit higher, if you like. On board with Josh Rogers, the only driver in finalist mode here in race 5. The only driver with a chance to win $100,000 at the moment. Jeffrey Rietveld will be joining him for the next race if things stay as they are. Max Beneka needs one more place, and he's closing in on that place right now as well, up the front, but that battle has kind of had a bit of a relaxing period in the last couple of moments. Now will Beneka try and make the move as Dane Warren gets a bit closer to Marcel Chinchik, and they all lift off. Warren from Chinchik, and then Beneka is staying behind as well. Everyone's waiting for the end of the race.
No one wants to lead. No one wants to lead right now, except Marcel Chinchik being forced to run at the head of the field. We saw just how important the draft can be, and we know how strong the Porsche is here. As much as Marcel Chinchik dominated that first race at Monza, a lot of people said if Rogers got to finalist mode heading into race number 5, he would have a chance. He's not at the front for the time being, and now under fire from Kevin Siggy.
And you wonder how annoyed he'll be about his qualifying lap now, because Kevin Siggy's down, he's inside again. There's a little bit of contact. Tommy Uscott's going to have a chance here as well, but fires it over the curve. That will probably be a cut track for him. He'll look up the inside for the next right-hander, but it's not going to happen on this occasion. Josh Rogers will be ruining this missed opportunity because, as you say, the Porsche is very strong around here.
and especially knowing that the Nürburgring is up next, which is definitely not necessarily the track that is going to suit the Porsche the most. Running through that second Lesmo on the 1 kilometer rise up towards Ascari, looking rearwards over the shoulder from Kevin Siggy, is doing what he needs to do in terms of protecting his teammate Jeffrey Rietveld up the road, but as Max Benecke continues to hunt, he's starting to run out of time. We're going to have 4 laps to go next time by. We saw the move start with 3 laps to go in the previous race here at Monza, so maybe only a lap away from Benecke starting to set up his charge.
We could well be very, very close indeed to a dramatic finale now. 4 laps away from the finish. Marcel Cintic under real pressure, searing pressure at this stage in the race. 4 times in a row now, or it would be 4 times in a row, that the pole sitter would have taken the race win. That's happened in the last 3 races. Can Marcel Cintic make it 4 with Dane Warren right in his slipstream? Is this the moment where the battling really kicks off? And will the Australian go for it on this occasion? The answer is a pretty firm no.
Maybe the next time by. Again, 3 laps ago when we might expect it to start bubbling up. We saw, of course, let's not forget, one of the best finishes so far here over at the final race yesterday. Moritz Lohner getting around the outside of Thibaut Casabon. Kuba Brzezinski joined the fun as well, and it was so incredibly exciting. I think we've got a pretty fun battle as well continuing to brew between Josh Rogers and Kevin Siggy. Once again, Siggy will have the inside into the Roger, but Rogers that little bit further in front this time by.
Siggy playing the teammate here for Jeffrey Rietveld and dives in towards the second chicane. Rogers round the outside though, takes the cut by going over the second part of that chicane, but he's taken 5th place as well. He has raced fantastically here, but his qualifying performance has just put him away and made sure that finalist mode is not going to bring him the $100,000 on this occasion. He'll be setting himself up for the Nürburgring.
Look at Benecke looking at the empty void behind, and that's important because with 2.6 odd seconds to Jeffrey Rietveld, Benecke knows that with 3 laps to go, he can start to push, he can start to attack, he can start to challenge side by side. Let's not forget some of our nominations for the KFC's Colonel's Choice for Best Overtake of the Day yesterday came here at Monza with some double passes into the Curva Alboreto. Ryan Barneveld unfortunately lost that out to Moritz Lohner on the final race of the day, but we know it can be done, and Benecke is aggressive enough to get it done.
He's so close behind Dave Warren now, isn't he? The problem he's got is that he can't actually pull out of line here too early, otherwise he'll have no slipstream. But Warren will from Marcel Cintic. Now Benecke is finding that out as he just takes a look to the left-hand side of the Australian. Will close in a little bit now, just trying to time his run more than anything. Warren might have to go for this with Cintic slowing down on the straight. Here goes Max Benecke down the inside in towards the first turn, and in the end Dane Warren doesn't go too deep on the brakes. Benecke is into 2nd place.
He's done what he needs to get up into finalist mode, but now needs to hold on for the next 3 or 2 and a bit laps at this point. Rogers and Siggy continue to squabble behind, allowing Rietveld that comfort. Rogers will be joined by at least 1 more driver in the Nürburgring in finalist mode. The question is, can Benecke hold on to be that extra driver? Well, look at the squabble that's forming up behind. Rogers to the inside, Oscar to the inside as well, into the Roger, too wide, too deep.
Down the inside for Josh Rogers again. This time he might well hang back and go for it on the exit. He just pushes Kevin Siggy ever so slightly and will look to the inside once again as Tommy Osgaard looks to make it 3 wide very nearly. It's going to be 2 wide, but Osgaard's on the inside here. Into Lesmo 1, there's been a contact. There's even more. And Tommy Osgaard goes around into the wall and down to 11th.
He was tapped from behind by Yuri Toman, but you saw that the rear end was already snaking around, and the tap from Toman enough to spin Osgaard into 11th spot. It continues to see the battle though. We've got Rogers, Toman and Brzezinski on that charge up in towards Ascari. Going to have 2 laps to go next time by, and crucially, even more time bled to Jeffrey Rietveld.
It was a bit of a domino effect really, wasn't it? It went on backwards and backwards, and Tommy Osgaard in the end lost out and spun into the wall, back down to 11th for him at the moment. Josh Rogers still very much embedded within this fight now. Yuri Toman right behind him. Rogers may well accept with 2 laps to go that this is not going to be the day.
Wouldn't be the race, sorry. You said wouldn't be the day, and you got me confused there for a second.
Yeah, it could be. We're used to doing 1 race a day, aren't we, really? Never mind 8 or more. So yeah, it's not going to be his race at least, but yeah, 6th place at the moment. Under pressure from Yuri Toman now as well.
In towards the Rettifilio, the middle of the track, actually a little bit smoother. You can see the brake lights coming alive for Jakub Brzezinski, not wanting to take it 3 abreast. Rogers got to be very careful here with Toman looking to try and poke himself to the outside. Both drivers will leave themselves room, but as the corner funnels down, the curb cuts itself to a close. Toman rejoins the racing surface and now gets squeezed by Joshua Rogers.
And here comes Jakub Brzezinski right in behind Yuri Toman. Rogers is going to get freight train now on the outside of the Curva Grande. Toman will pull in front of him as well before pulling back to the racing line. He'll have a great view in the rearview mirror now, side by side between those two in front of him. It's absolutely locked together. And here comes Kevin Ellis Jr. as well, coming into Lesmo 1. He's on the inside here of Josh Rogers, who's now beginning to take punch after punch to the head here, and he's just going knocked further down the order.
Ultimately, it does not matter. Rogers has achieved finalist mode. He just needs one victory from this point forward. He will lose out to Kevin Ellis Jr. potentially as well, but there is some drama from race control.
Yeah, Josh Rogers has got a 10-second time penalty as well for track limits here, so it really isn't going to be his race. I think this would be the biggest miracle we've ever seen in sim racing, to be honest, if he was able to take the title in this particular race. He'll have to wait for the Nürburgring, and how does he pick himself up from that one as well, because it will be disappointing.
So again, just to reiterate, as we run right now, Rogers above the 80-point threshold to reach finalist mode, where one victory secures you the championship. Benecke in second has done enough to also get himself above the 80-point threshold. Rietveld will do so as well. We head to the Nürburgring potentially with 1 lap to go here at Monza, with 3 cars potentially in finalist mode, and most importantly, Max Benecke, who dominated at the Nürburgring earlier today, has the chance to make himself a contender for the ESL R1 sponsored by Aramco Drivers' Championship.
There's the confirmation for Rogers as well, who's going to be staying down in 10th, maybe being bumped down to 11th after the penalty there, but it really doesn't matter at all. Max Benecke just needs to stay in second place, and to be honest with you, I'm surprised that Dane Warren didn't fight Max Benecke a little bit more, because he held second place after all, did the Australian. Didn't really defend though, to prevent Rogers from having someone else to worry about in the next race.
Yes, but I've got to wonder for Dane Warren if he's also trying to think about the fact that he's not been that consistent over the course of his Rennsport campaign. We know how quick he can be, but not always able to get the lap times every single time around, and so at the end of the day, a 3rd place finish here, getting more points on the board for him, rising himself up in the championship, more prize money to be had.
He could have got second and defended, you know, an extra 4 points. It might not matter.
What happens if they come together?
Well, then Benecke's not getting finalist mode, and Rogers is, you know, with just Rietveld to worry about.
Oh, but now you've just added more drama. Are you looking for drama?
Well,
sounds like it.
You sound like you think they would have come together.
Well, I'm just saying I understand from Dane's perspective. You know, there's championship money on the line here, and as much as, yes, he could have protected his teammate, it's every man for themselves here today.
Fair enough. No, we'll see how it pans out for Josh Rogers in the next race. But for Marcel Chinchik, it's been panning out very well over the last couple of rounds. Pole position in race 4 and the win. It's pole position in race 5 and the win as well to Marcel Chinchik, who takes 2 in a row, and it's 4 for the pole sitters in a row here in ESL R1, sponsored by Aramco as well. There he is, sweating as he always is, and that little bit closer to finalist mode. In this next race now, he has the chance to gain that, but for the moment, he still has a lot of catching up to do.
The one good thing is that we know the Audi can be quick at the Nürburgring, but it's all going to be about how Marcel Chinchik can respond to the pressure. Can he grab 3 pole positions, 3 victories in a row in order to prevent one of Maximilian Benecke, of Jeffrey Rietveld, or Joshua Rogers from being able to crown themselves the champion and walk away with $100,000.
One of sim racing's best in the world on your screens right there. Marcel Chinchik, ESL R1 Spring Major Champion. Now getting that little bit closer to winning here in Riyadh as well. If he can, he'll probably have the job of trying to take that win away from the finalist mode drivers as well. You mentioned that the Audi's relatively strong there. We're thinking that Benecke will be up there because he'll be in finalist mode, Rietveld as well with Rogers, but Marcel Chinchik, of the drivers not in finalist mode, you'd maybe fancy him to get up there.
Well, Mehdi Al-Fathi has come down now to have a quick chat and maybe talk through some things that they saw through in that race, and ultimately, it's going to all now come down to what happens to the 3 drivers. We're not left with one that all of the field is going to gang up against. 3 drivers now fight for themselves. The rest hope that they get a chance later today.
And such a passionate team member at RHG, by the way, is Mehdi. He was first on the scene with Marcel Chinching after his 45,000 euros won at Munich. There is the incident with Tommy Østgaard through Lesmo 1, as we said at the time. Bit of a domino effect with Josh Rogers involved and everybody else. This is on board from Yuri Toman. Rogers was initially alongside Kevin Siggy there, and then the Norwegian headed down the inside. Rogers made a bit of a mistake, then that forced Østgaard to slow down, and then Toman just got slightly into the back of the Porsche. Let's go down to the stage now, and Barney, who's standing by at the moment, with Jeffrey Rietveld, who has also reached finalist mode.
Jeffrey, you did what needed to be done, and now it is time to dig your heels in. How did you feel throughout that race?
It was not that eventful for me personally. Messed up qualifying, sadly, missed the second chicane completely, so for sure not happy about my qualifying performance. Then Kevin just helped me amazingly to secure P4, so I would go into finalist mode. Yeah.
سألنا المتسابق جيفري معنا كيف شعوره بعد ما خلاص حسم أنه موجود معنا في الفاينالست مود، فكيف شعوره بعد وصوله على هذه المرحلة. قال لي بكل صراحة، قال بالنسبة له السباق الماضي ما كان أفضل شيء، وهو حتى برضه منصدم من الأداء اللي قدمه، كان ممكن أنه يتجنب أخطاء كثير، فبالنسبة له السباق الجاي بيكون جدا صعب بحكم الأخطاء اللي صارت.
It was just more about maintaining your position, wasn't it? Because now you are in finalist mode. Congratulations. I've said it before at the top of the show that next track up, Nürburgring, it's a true test of bravery. Feeling brave?
I'm feeling brave, definitely. We'll be fully sending it again in qualifying. It's a very hard track to overtake on, so I think that whoever gets the pole position is probably going to win the event. So let's see.
اوكي، هذا التصريح بصراحه جدا ممتاز، لكن اللي شفناه فعلا في السباق الجاي اللي راح يكون في مضمار مميز، مضمار تماما مختلف، فنبغى نعرف ايش الاستراتيجيات اللي راح ياخذها معنا المتسابق في المضمار القادم. قال بكل صراحه، قال ان اللي راح ياخذ المكان الافضل بالنسبه له في بدايه السباق ممكن يفوز في السباق بشكل كامل، فبدايته هي اهم شيء.
You heard it here first, but you know what? You probably already knew. Jeffrey Rietveld is going to full send it into Nürburgring, and that's exactly what we like to hear. Jeff, thank you so much for joining us in the post-race interview, and best of luck going into Nürburgring. But for now, we're going to send it back over to the desk because we got 3 drivers in finalist mode, and the next one is going to be a doozy.
والحين أعزائنا المشاهدين، بعد ما عرفنا من هم ال3 متسابقين اللي معنا اللي انتقلوا إلى السباق أو إلى الفاينلست مود، ممكن يكون السباق الجاي هو السباق الأخير، فخلونا نروح على الاستوديو نشوف تفاصيل النقاط كيف معنا ونرجع لكم في السباق الجاي.